Well, thanks everyone for being here on a sunny Sunday morning. Oops, I feel like this is falling off. Okay. There are new faces. There are familiar faces. But we're all beginners. Maybe this is your first time in the Zendo and you're new to the forms and the practice. I'm new to this seat, giving talks. The thing is, the longer you practice Zen, the more opportunities you have to be a beginner. After you've been practicing for a little while, you get to be a beginner at the bell, or you get to be a beginner as Kokyo. And every time we sit down at our cushion, it's like the first time. I want to invite you, if it feels comfortable to you, to just bring your hand to your heart for a minute. In the Chinese language, the character for heart is the same as the character for mind. Heart, mind are one. Heart, mind. Thinking and feeling. As we practice over time, our mind softens and our heart softens. I don't know which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Chicken, egg, heart, mind. Same. If you've been here for our Sunday morning programs, you already know that our theme is the 6 Paramitas, sometimes translated as perfection, or as Noman Tim reminded us, going beyond. I'll be continuing on this journey and continuing specifically in the exploration of the Paramita of ethical conduct that Hannah started us on last week. And I wanted to thank Hannah, maybe she'll be listening to this recording, for reminding us in her talk that ultimately ethical conduct is not for ourselves, but for everyone. She asked us to consider, how will your action affect yourself, the world, and the world's future? At the heart of the Paramita of ethical conduct is, of course, the 16 Bodhisattva precepts. Some of you are familiar with the precepts, others of you, this might be new. Either way, let's take a look at them with beginner's eyes. I've been listening to some of Norman Fisher's early talks on the precepts from 2000, and he reminds us again that these precepts are not a set of rules, nor are they simply a set of guidelines to live by. This is what he says. The lifeblood that runs through the veins of Buddhas and ancestors is the lifeblood of the 16 Bodhisattva precepts. This is the essence that flows through the bodies of Buddhas and is passed down one to another to the present. So the precepts are the actual blood lineage of the Buddhas. So I want to take a few minutes to recite them, to remind ourselves, or maybe to look at them for the first time. Either way, with a beginner's eye, soft gaze. I'll call and you can respond by repeating. I take refuge in Buddha.
I take refuge
I take refuge in Dharma.
I take refuge in Dharma.
I take refuge in Sangha.
I take refuge in Sangha.
I vow to refrain from harmful conduct.
I vow to refrain from harmful conduct.
I vow to cultivate beneficial conduct.
I vow to cultivate beneficial conduct.
I vow to benefit all beings.
I vow to benefit all beings.
I vow to protect life, not to kill.
I vow to protect life, not to kill.
I vow to receive gifts, not to steal.
I vow to receive gifts, not to steal.
I vow to respect others, not to misuse sexuality.
I vow to respect others, not to misuse sexuality.
I vow to be truthful, not to lie.
I vow to be truthful, not to lie.
I vow to remain clear, not to intoxicate myself or others.
I vow to remain clear, not to intoxicate myself or others.
I vow to speak kindly, not to speak ill of others.
I vow to speak kindly, not to speak ill of others.
I vow to practice modesty, not to praise myself at the expense of others.
I vow to practice modesty, not to praise myself at the expense of others.
I vow to practice generosity.
I vow to practice generosity.
And the second part is not to be possessive.
Not to be possessive.
I vow to practice loving kindness, not to harbor ill will.
I vow to practice loving kindness, not to harbor ill will.
I vow to cherish and polish the three treasures.
I vow to cherish and polish the three treasures.
So this is the lifeblood that flows through your veins. I'm going to bring attention now to the three pure precepts. I vow to refrain from harmful conduct. I vow to cultivate beneficial action. And I vow to benefit all beings. Sometimes the third line is written, I vow to live for and with all beings. And I'm focusing on these three, the pure precepts, because they include all the others. The 10 clear mind precepts that follow the three pure precepts are basically specifics. They're specific ways to practice the pure mind precepts. So, for example, the first one, to protect life, not to kill, is one specific way to refrain from harmful conduct, cultivate beneficial conduct, to live for and with all beings. And you could say that about the list of the 10 clear precepts. Is the mic still okay? Okay. But I think we could distill these precepts down even further. I think the three pure precepts could be expressed in one sentence. I vow to loving kindness. That's my distillation. As Hannah reminded us last week, ethical living requires going beyond the self-centeredness of the ego. Practicing with the precepts over time reminds us of the interconnected nature of all life And when we really know that in our bones, kindness, care, and love naturally emerge through our speech and our activity. So you could say that practicing the 16 Bodhisattva precepts is the practice of Metta. Metta is translated as loving kindness. If you've studied the precepts before, maybe you've heard that traditionally there are 3 different levels of practicing with the precepts. There's the literal level. I vow not to lie. So, no matter what, I always tell the truth. Literal means literal. The compassionate level. This comes from the heart, and it's rooted in kindness. It includes empathy for others. So, from small things like attending a dinner party where someone is served food, or where you're served food that you don't care for, but you may choose to tell a white lie. Oh, thank you. That was a wonderful meal. I appreciate you cooking for me. And there are bigger examples of practicing with compassion. Suppose you live in Nazi Germany and you're hiding a Jew in your attic and a Nazi soldier knocks on your door. You might lie. There are no Jews living here. Out of compassion, out of love, protecting life. And the ultimate level, these are words by Norman Fisher from the same talk I quoted earlier. At the ultimate level, the 16 Bodhisattva precepts disappear. Buddha's life is shining everywhere and is all that there is. We are easily and joyfully living our life as Buddha's life with unimpeded kindness welling up. Unimpeded kindness welling up. This is metta practice. And practice with these 3 levels isn't linear. We're not going from one level to the next. We're always practicing all the precepts on all the levels. And on every level, ethical conduct shows us how to live as a kind, caring person. To cultivate, as said in the pure precepts, to cultivate beneficial action and refrain from harm. And I'm drawn here to the word cultivate. We often use this word when we're referring to gardening. We cultivate the soil. We add compost, we add water, maybe some organic fertilizer to cultivate a fertile ground for growth. The practice of ethical conduct is a cultivation of the heart, creating a fertile ground for kindness, care, compassion, and other qualities of the heart. It's interesting to me that in an earlier version of the Paramitas, prior to Mahayana Buddhism, and we are a Mahayana school, there were originally 10 Paramitas. We practiced with 6, so 4 were dropped. And among the 4 that were dropped by the Mahayana school was the Paramita of Metta, loving kindness. And I don't actually know why it was dropped, but I would speculate that the early Mahayanas didn't feel the need to point us to explicit metta practice because the whole of the Bodhisattva path is metta. On the homepage of Jack Kornfield's website, he describes the Bodhisattva path this way. A Bodhisattva is, well, that's the Sanskrit word for being a being who is devoted to awakening and to acting for the benefit of all lives. The deep fulfillment of happiness of a bodhisattva comes from serving the welfare of others as well as ourself. The highest happiness of a bodhisattva is connected to the well-being of others. Right? So you can see how the Mahayana path, the path of the bodhisattva, is implicitly a metta practice. The whole of the path is metta. So if we're already living for and with the benefit of all beings, why would we need an explicit metta practice? Maybe this is why that was one of the paramitas dropped. But I don't know about you, but I need some explicit metta practices, some practices to ground me in my heart. I need practices that cultivate my heart, grow my capacity very directly for loving kindness. And I am really grateful that my Zen teachers have introduced me to heart center practices from other schools of Buddhism. The two practices that have influenced me are metta practice of the Theravadan tradition and the Tonglen practice of the Tibetan tradition. So I thought it would be a worthwhile use of our time this morning to learn and even practice with these practices. So I'm going to start by describing metta practice of the Theravadan tradition. Maybe you've done it before. The practice involves both visualization of yourself and others in conjunction with setting an intention to offer kindness and to send love from your heart. So this practice includes reciting phrases, and the phrases, very simply and traditionally, are this: may you be happy, may you be safe, may you live with ease. And sometimes these phrases are expounded upon and sound more like this: may you be happy and joyful. May you be safe and protected. May you meet life with strength and wisdom. I did a day of metta practice, a one-day sitting at Spirit Rock, which is a Theravadan Buddhist temple in California. And in that day, we were invited to write our own metta phrases that come from our own hearts, words that resonate from within. And this is what my metta phrases, how they express themselves through my heart. May you be safe and protected. May you have health and vitality. May you feel content and happy. And may you know peace and well-being. So in a few minutes, I'm going to talk you through, and we'll practice a little bit with metta, and for the sake of time and simplicity, we'll use the traditional language. But if you resonate with this practice and you want to continue it at home, I'm going to point you to the Mindfulness Northwest website because there's if you click under practices, there's a whole page of guided metta practice, and on that page, our guiding teacher, Noman Tim, leads a guided meditation, helping you to find your own words, as I did in my one-day sitting at Spirit Rock, words that come from your heart that you resonate with. So just wanted to let you know that's there as a resource. But for our time here this morning, I'm going to invite you to maybe again, if it's comfortable, place your hand on your heart, bring your eyes to a soft gaze. Notice the breath. Find a comfortable posture. It's okay to wiggle and move a little. And visualize someone at first that you care for, that you love, a friend, a family member. We'll start our practice holding someone in our heart that doesn't challenge us so much. And as we visualize this person, sensing our heart, the heartbeat under our hand, we'll send them metta. May you be happy. You can repeat this in your mind if it's good to you. May you feel safe. May you live with ease. May you be happy. Content in your life. Finding sources of joy. May you feel safe. Protected. May you live with ease. Knowing well-being. You can continue with those words. Find your own words. Sending metta to your loved one. Now hold yourself in your heart and send yourself the same good wishes. May you be happy. May I be happy. May I feel safe. May I live with ease. May I feel content. May I feel protected. equanimity, well-being. Send yourself good wishes. Now I'm going to invite you to choose someone you feel neutral toward. So this could be the barista that makes your morning coffee. Or it could be, if you're a dog walker, your dog walking neighbor that you pass each morning on your morning walk. It could be the cashier at your local market. And hold that person. This acquaintance, someone you have some neutrality around, hold them in your heart and send them metta, loving kindness. May you be happy. May you feel safe. May you live with ease. Maybe already you're starting to find your own words to wish them happiness. Safety. And ease. Now I'm going to challenge you a little. I'm going to ask you to choose someone to hold in your heart that is kind of a thorn in your side. Someone that challenges you, but in a small way. I'm not talking about like a big trigger in your life. I'm talking about like the person at work that doesn't wash their dishes and leaves their dirty dishes in the sink in the staff room. Just irritating. Maybe your neighbor who parks their car in such a way that when you pull out of your driveway, it blocks your vision of oncoming traffic. Irritating. I wish he'd just move his car up a little bit more. Choose someone that's a thorn in your side. And send that person loving kindness. May you be happy. May you feel safe. And live with ease. Not just saying the words in your mind, but feeling them in your heart. It's as if you're embracing this person with your heart. As you deliver good wishes. For happiness, safety, and ease. Now I'm going to ask you to open your heart to the whole world and send your good wishes to all the beings on the planet. People, animals, plants. Everybody deserves to live with happiness, in safety. Everybody deserves to find some ease. Loving kindness is our birthright, like the precepts are the blood that courses through Buddha's veins, your veins. May the world and everyone in it find happiness, find safety, people that are challenged, people that are discriminated against, people that are abused, may they find safety. May they find ease and well-being. May they be protected. Giving your heart to the world. All who are suffering, who are less fortunate, as well as those who appear to have good fortune. Because nobody escapes suffering. Giving our love to the world. And when you feel ready, Slowly open your eyes if they were closed or gazing downward. Bringing yourself and your heart back into the room with this particular Sangha. That's a little introduction to metta practice. And like I said, there are resources if you want to continue to cultivate metta and practice this on your own. I don't think we'll have time this morning for Tonglen practice, but I just want to introduce you to it as another really heart-centered practice for cultivating loving kindness. Tonglen is a Tibetan word that means sending and taking. This practice involves imagining sending light, compassion, love out as you exhale, and taking in suffering and negativity on the inhale. And when you do this practice, usually you choose an object of your compassion. So maybe a particular person or animal or a group of people whose situation touches your heart. I'll give you an example of how I've used this practice in my own life. When I was going through my divorce process with my first husband about 8 years ago, there were ways I felt betrayed by him. During our divorce process, he lived in his own bedroom in our house for 6 months, and we made some agreements and set some parameters around our behavior so we could continue to cohabitate at that time as we each found our new lives. Unfortunately, he was not able to keep these agreements or to be honest with me about not keeping them, and I felt my trust betrayed. I remember clearly the feeling of being stabbed in my heart, this sense of betrayal. So I practiced with Tonglen, and I thought of all the women in the world, presently, historically, who have felt betrayed by their husbands. And maybe it's not just women. Maybe husbands have felt betrayed by their wives, but I'm talking about my experience. So I thought of all the women who have felt betrayed by their husbands, including myself. And I breathed in the darkness, the pain, the disillusionment of betrayal, of these betrayed women. And I sent out from my heart love and healing, a warm, loving light that could embrace all of us in our pain and support us in our healing. So that's just one example of how to use Tonglen practice. It also can be used for a group of people who are, well, that was a group. But you know what I mean, a group that might not include yourself. A group of people that are discriminated against, for example, may or may not include yourself. And I don't know about you. I remember when I was first introduced to Tonglen practice, it felt kind of uncomfortable, like breathing in all that pain and suffering. Most of us feel an urge to escape when we can from pain or discomfort. We find all kinds of escape routes in our life, from distraction, denial, simply turning a blind eye. But we may also find that rejecting the discomfort actually adds to the pain. I invite you, if you feel drawn, to work with this in your heart, in your practice. If the time presents itself to you, oh, this might be helpful to do Donglen practice. These are options that our lineage, Soto Zen Buddhism, have borrowed from other Buddhist lineages because, as I mentioned, the Bodhisattva path isn't so explicit. It's more implicit that we're cultivating loving kindness in everything we do. That's all I wanted to say this morning. I wanted to hear from you how it was to practice with Metta, if it was your first time or maybe you've done it before. How was it? Is this when we stop recording?